I'm the next speaker, and as Chair of the Consumer Advisory Panel, I'd now like to give you an overview of the role that we have within ANZUP. The CAP, as we are called, are a small group of enthusiastic volunteers who provide advice to ANZUP's clinicians and researchers from a patient community perspective on the ideas and concepts that are being considered as future clinical trials, right through the development and approval process, as well as being part of the trial management committees that overview the progress of a trial once it's been opened. As consumer advisors, we are not expected to have expertise about the scientific or medical merits of a trial. Rather, being part of ANZUP CAP is a way of being able to use your unwanted cancer experience in a very positive way to help ensure that the development of each clinical trial will hopefully be of benefit to cancer patients in some way in the future. We try to keep a balanced CAP with at least one member for each of the 4 main cancers that ANZUP represents, with experience from other cancers also being very beneficial to the group. We come from many different states with a New Zealand member as well. Some of the CAP work full-time, part-time, or may be retired, and our professional expertise is also wide-ranging. But our most common denominator is that the CAP members, like most of you here today, have been affected by a cancer diagnosis, either themselves or through a close family member, and are interested in advocating and helping to promote the benefits of clinical trial research within the community. We currently have 7 active CAP members, and today we have been able to invite 4 potential new members to join us for this year's meeting so that they can gain a much better understanding of what it involves being a CAP member. And you'll meet Darren Nolan, who is presenting the patient perspective a little later this afternoon. Most CAP members are referred to ANZUP through their treating team that have looked after them during their cancer diagnosis. At some point during their cancer experience, we'll have expressed a desire to take on a voluntary role with an interest in clinical trial research. The CAP's main focus is to provide the voice of the community that we have the privilege to represent on research ideas and trials being developed. We do this through a series of cancer-specific subcommittees for prostate, kidney, testicular, and the combined bladder, penile and urothelial groups that mostly meet through teleconferences about 3 to 4 times per year. And we have at least one CAP member being part of all these different groups to ensure that the patient voice is heard. The CAP also have their own teleconferences, as this is our opportunity to report back to each other and discuss items of interest across the group. One of our bread and butter items is to review the patient information and consent forms, otherwise known as a PIC. These statements are given to patients and their families to read when they are considering whether or not to participate in a clinical trial. We look for patient-friendly language and that the PIC will give the patient an accurate understanding of what participating in the trial will mean. We work together as a group on these PICs and provide feedback directly to the investigators regarding our suggestions to help ensure that the consent forms are presented in the most patient-friendly format. It's not easy. The documents are long and contain a number of paragraphs and the pages that are required to meet ethical standards and disclosures, but they are a very interesting part of what we do. We also contribute articles to the Below the Belt magazine, which I've got a copy of here, and I hope that you all take a copy of this home and have a read, and it would be great if you could share it with your family and friends. It contains lots of information about ANZUP, clinical trials and patient stories. The next slide shows more activities that are not such core items to all of the CAP. Some of these are additional committees that the chair of the CAP takes part in and reports back to the group through our teleconferences. One of our CAP members is also an ANZUP board member with expertise in finance. And while fundraising is not part of the CAP's terms of reference, for many of us it is another way to be involved and have some fun, especially if you enjoy riding a bike through the pedal-thons held in Sydney and Melbourne each year. They help provide critical funding for trials through the Below the Belt Research Fund. So while these 2 slides look rather long, they are well spread out amongst the group, and we enjoy what we do, and it is something that we look forward to. The CAP are committed to promoting the benefits of clinical trial research to the wider community to help increase participation rates. We can do this by helping break down old myths about being on a trial, by encouraging patients to engage in clinical trial discussions right from when you are first diagnosed. Trials are not a last resort. To help change some of these perceptions, last year a video was produced as a joint project with the Breast Cancer Trials Group, with Les Land, one of our CAP members, featuring in the video. This was shown in GP waiting rooms around Australia about the benefits of participating in a clinical trial. We are now considering what's next, and with tight budgets we have to be very considerate about what we do, but we also know that by increasing clinical trial participation rates, this will ultimately help improve outcomes for patients. The CAP feel valued for the contribution that we make to the ANZUP members who seek our opinions on many research ideas. It is important that the trials are developed will have patients who want to participate in them. We are passionate about what we do, and sadly over the years we have had a few CAP members die from their cancers, and the very clear message from them to us is that we need to keep promoting and working hard on new clinical trial ideas. And with that in mind and our own personal circumstances, we will continue to do what we do. A great example of being involved at ANZUP because of our interest in clinical trial research has been the recent announcement of the success of an interim analysis of an international trial, ANZUP, led by ANZUP. Shomek, our next speaker, will present a few more details, but in October 2013, the CAP were asked to review the pick for this trial, and in brief, we said, there was general consensus that the trial has the potential to offer positive benefits for prostate cancer patients. The trial would seem to be relatively straightforward with little potential for additional complications over current best practice treatment and offers good follow-up care for both groups of patients. Fast forward to 2019 and this trial has very positive results to show that the new treatment significantly improves overall survival rates, and thank the patients and their families for agreeing to take part in this trial that will help make such a difference in the future. In a nutshell, that's why we volunteer at ANZUP.